So hello and welcome to another edition of my Become Unstoppable series. And I've got another amazing guest for you today. This is Anna. Anna, would you like to introduce yourself, my lovely?
I would love to. Hi, everyone. I'm Anna and I am a high performance coach and founder of 80. And I guess just the top line, I'll tell you what I'm obsessed with, if you like. That's probably a good place to start. I am obsessed with the link between mental fitness and high performance. And I believe in order to show up as our best selves, whether that's individually or as a team, we need to be mentally fit first. So that's my passion.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I guess that's my passion too, in a kind of different kind of angle, isn't it? So those who don't know me, my name is Julie Fitzpatrick and I'm the founder of Millieside Therapy and Coaching. And I support business owners and professionals really who are feeling stressed out, burnt out, lacking in confidence, to help them find their mojo again so that they can become unstoppable. And I work with my clients on a one-to-one basis, but also I have an amazing group program, which is called Your Breakthrough from Stress, Lack of Confidence, to Inner Peace and Clarity. And I'm always looking for new people to come and join this amazing group. So, Anna, before we get started, as you well know, I am going to ask you my very famous question. What does being unstoppable mean to you?
Well, something that, a specialist subject to me is growth mindset. So I've got to pull growth mindset into the mix here. For me, being unstoppable is welcoming discomfort on a daily basis. It's checking in and asking, have I made enough mistakes today? So for me, it's all about, which I know is really quite jarring for some people. They'll be like, what? You want to make mistakes? But vulnerability is a superpower. So for me, it is being unstoppable is being vulnerable. It is stepping out of your comfort zone on a regular basis so that continually we can grow. And for me, there is no finish line. There ain't no finish line. No. Until the day we die, there is opportunity for growth in every second and every day. And that's what being unstoppable means to me. It's embracing that growth mindset.
I love that. And I think you're absolutely right. There is, like, until the day that you pass to the human rainbow bridge, then it's not game over, is it?
And there's so much opportunity to learn from mistakes and challenges and grow from trauma. And yeah, we're all on a journey, aren't we? It's about embracing the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And anyone who knows my story knows I didn't start this entrepreneurial journey until I was 52 anyway. So most people are like looking to think, well, how can I start retiring? What do? I started to become a business owner. So did my husband. We were like,
it's never too late.
What we do? Yeah, but that was all kicked off through COVID, really. And you know, I know COVID was horrendous in many ways, and we're still paying the price for that now. But for me, it was my opportunity to do something different, and so did my husband as well. So, yeah, for us, it's been good. It's been good. Would we have done what we
life audit, wasn't it, Julie? COVID was like a massive life audit opportunity for everybody, and a time to check in with what are my values and how do I actually want to be living my life.
And I certainly wasn't happy doing what I was doing, and I did feel trapped. And I think in the end, and this is what I say to people as well, we have to be careful what we manifest, because I didn't consciously manifest being made redundant, but that's what happened. And I can remember one of my good friends, she said, well, congratulations, well done. And I was like, first of all, I was like, what do you mean? Oh, she said, it was your fault. And I was like, what do you mean? And she went, well, yeah, I suppose I did. And this is why the power of the mind is so powerful, because we are manifesting every single moment. The universe, if you like, is always listening, right? So that's why it's so important that we say and do positive things and we live our life to the full, because otherwise all that negativity is just going to come back tenfold, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You talk about being unstoppable. Another way to put that is getting your flipping blinkers off, because if our blinkers are on and we are self-limiting because we don't believe we're good enough to embrace opportunity, we don't see the opportunity. And I think that's a big part of manifestation, isn't it? It's opening your eyes and seeking to be able to receive those opportunities. But you have got to take action as well. I'm a firm believer that
yes, you can't just sit there and say, I want money in abundance. It doesn't quite work like that. I know this because I've tried.
Yeah. Why is that Range Rover not in my drive yet that I've been
I wished for it yesterday. I don't understand. So, Anna, we will get obviously into this a lot more, but let's find out a little bit more about you. So, as you said in your introduction, you're a high performance coach and you're the founder of 80. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now? But then we'll go into a little bit of how did you end up doing that? Because I know you haven't always done that.
Yeah, so I guess to give you a bit more information about what I do. So I work with businesses. I get leaders and their teams mentally fit and embracing growth mindset, something that I'm passionate about, as I've shared, so that they can achieve extraordinary results. So I work with businesses, I deliver programs, usually between 3 months and 12 months, which include training, workshops and coaching, very well structured, tailored programs to the organization that really create high performance culture for teams. I work across industry, but I do specialize in recruitment. And if we use recruitment as an example, like the pain points for recruitment are clear. There's often just a couple of key billers. There's 20% of the team delivering 80% of the turnover, which is a challenge. We've got fear around rejection. We've got avoidance around selling, or certainly people not tailoring their approach to sell. We've got a stress and overwhelm because the market is so turbulent at times. So there's all these barriers to break through. And I do find no matter what business I'm in or what industry I'm in, the common barriers are lack of accountability, often a lot of blame or maybe over dependency on the leader. Stress and overwhelm comes up a lot, and people's own sort of personal problems that they may not even be bringing to work. Perfectionism. I work with a lot of high achievers. I'll tell you more about perfectionism later in the light of my story. Perfectionism really can result in people stifling their own growth. So that's a big fat barrier to break through. And then, of course, there's fear of stepping out of comfort zones, which is huge, and fixed mindset. A stat I always throw up, Julie, is 90% of your thoughts today are the same as yesterday, which you may well have known that. But many people don't realise that they are just on patterns of repeat, programs repeating the same thoughts. And that Einstein quote has never been more poignant than when you consider it in the light of a team in a business, because, you know, the same thoughts are driving the same behaviours, getting the same results. It's the definition of insanity is expecting something without changing the beliefs and thoughts. So we see teams stuck in a rut, and I'm there to get them out of the rut and achieving the extraordinary.
Nice. Like that. Yeah, funny enough, last week in my group program, we were covering fears, fear of failure, because procrastination's fear, isn't it? Fear of lack of money, lack of success, fear, it's so much fear. And as you all know this, I mean, we're literally born with two fears: loud noises and falling. The rest of it, we're either learned behaviours, they're created by beliefs, they're drummed into us.
Yeah.
But it's us using our imagination. And this is one of my passion topics, is our imagination. It is the most powerful tool that we all have. Yet most of us are masters, are using it in the wrong way.
Oh, expecting the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, because fear, anxiety, stress, they're all us using our imagination, worrying about something that probably ain't never going to happen anyway. You know, and if you think about what you was stressed and worried about last week, can you remember what it was? Can you remember what it was a month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago? Of course you can't, you don't know. But like you said, it's that constant treadmill, isn't it? That looping thoughts.
Yeah. But isn't it the best news ever, though? It's the best news ever that beliefs are learned. Because when some people don't realise that, they think, oh my goodness, it's hereditary, or it's not. It's just probably copied or learnt from someone else, whether it's society or parents or whatever. But that's the best news, because it means you can unlearn it, right? And that's what coaching is all about.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I love about it. That's what I always say, exactly those words, really. And you've got to acknowledge that, though, and you need to understand what your limiting beliefs are, which sometimes you can do it on your own, sometimes you can't. And that's when we come in. And that's where mine differs a little bit from yours, actually, because I do the conscious coaching. So we probably do a lot of similar stuff there. But with my therapy side, with the hypnosis and things like that, we can actually go deep in the subconscious mind and change those deep thoughts for good permanently.
Yeah, that's really powerful.
So powerful. Yeah.
A lot of people don't realise that only 10% of their thoughts, roughly, they know they're having. The rest is just going on in the background.
Yeah. And the other fun fact is the only thing that we can control in life is our thoughts.
Yeah.
We can't control anything else.
Yeah, it's all about owning the response.
Yeah. And when you say it out loud like that, like the only thing you can control are your thoughts. Okay. So all your people that you're just talking about in your corporate world, and I've spent 35 years in the corporate world, so I know all about that. Every one of those who've got those looping thoughts, that's the only thing that they can control. Yet they don't.
I know, they just don't know where to start. We don't get taught this in school, and I think that's such a missed opportunity. I've got a philosophy I live by, which you'll be living by this as well, Julie, with what you do. But for me, 5% of life happens to us, and 95% is our response to it. I mean, we all know loads of stuff happens out of our control. Traffic, weather, death, illness. We know it's a lot, but to live by the philosophy that I'm putting that in the 5% box, and I'm going to put all my energy into how I respond to that stuff, is game changing, isn't it?
It is. And like things like when relationships fail, right? Your likelihood is they're failing because of beliefs that you've got basically between the ages of 0 and 7, right? Because that's when we create the basics of them with no logic, which is really super scary. Yeah. But you might have created that belief that you're unlovable. So throughout the whole of your life, you end up attracting the wrong type of person because you're putting out, subconsciously, of course, you're not lovable. So go on, just be nasty to me. And until you get to the root of that and understand that and know how to love yourself, then you're always going to be repeating that pattern.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. That phrase, we are never going to rise above the opinion we have of ourselves, is so true. Until we believe we are absolutely enough or good enough, we won't attract what we feel we really deserve, or we'll only attract what we feel we deserve, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's not people consciously doing it, of course, and not actively going out and go, oh, I'm really going to mess this relationship up, or I'm really going to mess my children up today. I mean, that's not, well, unless you are completely mad. But generally speaking, most people have got, we're parents, right? So you want to bring your children up in the best way you can, but of course you're going to get it wrong. But it's about having the basic foundations that, that knowing that they're loved, knowing that they're more than enough. And if any of us have got that hole in their heart, if you like, of not feeling lovable, you can't expect other people to come and feel that. And I think that's what happens a lot in relationships as well. You meet someone, you fall in love, and they're really lovely, and they've got that really lovely little laugh. Well, 6 months, a year in, that laugh becomes an irritant, right? Because all the fun maybe they're not giving you what you want and what you need. But guess what? It ain't their job to do that. It's your job.
Absolutely.
Go and sort that out yourself.
I find that it's the minority of people that do charge their own battery from within, if that makes sense. I mean, I spent most of my life seeking validation and reassurance. And I mean, I think most people do that have a very external approach, whereas what we want to create through coaching is an internal focus, isn't it? Like, let's love ourselves first. You're right.
Yeah. So you touched there on your past. So do you want to give us a little bit of a story of how you ended up being where you are now as a very
sure
performance coach?
Yeah, sure. So I'm really proud to say that as a high performance coach, I have the pleasure of working with some brilliant companies like LinkedIn, L'Oreal, Boots, Holland & Barrett, some great names. And as I say, I really, my preferred industry is recruitment, but I absolutely love what I do. I've got 2 little kids, well, I say little, 9 and 7, 2 young girls, and live overall quite a balanced life. I'm not saying I don't feel overwhelmed at time. I've got a perfectly imperfect life, I have to say, but I do love my life. But it certainly has not always been that way. I mean, if I take you back to, when was it? The day, it was 2017. And I had little Millie, 3 at the time, in nursery. I had a newborn baby. I was just going back to work. I say newborn. She was probably just under 12 months at that point. Just going back to work. And I was in a full-time global leadership role. And I remember, Julie, being in my car, and my brutal inner voice was running wild. All I could hear was, you are the worst mum in the world. You are such a bad leader. You can't even concentrate. You're so forgetful. Everything you do, you're failing. You're dropping balls left, right, and centre. You're a shit wife. You're not giving your husband enough attention. You haven't even lost your baby weight. Oh my goodness, Julie, this inner voice was harsh. Now, what I know this was now is severe perfectionism of the worst order, of the highest order. And I remember driving along in my car in tears, feeling completely overwhelmed on my way to a forecasting meeting. And the rain was hammering on the windscreen. I remember it, and it's just, everything was drenched. It was a miserable day. And I remember driving along thinking, feeling overwhelmed, crying, not knowing why I was crying. And all of a sudden, bang, it was like the biggest wake-up call. I recognised I was having a full-on breakdown, and I just couldn't handle it. I was putting 110, expecting myself to achieve 110% across all aspects of life, feeling I was failing miserably. And I recognised in that moment, I pulled the car over. I forgot where I was even driving. Didn't even know I was going to work. That's how overwhelmed I was. And I said to myself, this is not the mum I want to be. This is not the leader I want to be. This is not the life I want to live. What am I doing? And to cut a long story short, that's the crossroads I hit when I recognised I needed really to get some help. I needed someone to show me how to transform my mindset so that I could actually thrive in life rather than just survive. And I invested in a fantastic coach, and I learned how to let go of the perfectionism. And my biggest learning through that period was that 80% is enough. If I could pour, and this is why my company is called 80, Julie. If I can pour into all of these different cups, into the family cup, into health and fitness, into my husband, into friends, the cup doesn't need to be full. But if I can keep pouring, if I can achieve that balance, if I can take my foot off the pedal and let go and recognize that good really is enough, and I'm actually doing a really good job, and dropping the ball is normal when you're a working mum. Just expect it. When that penny dropped, it was an absolute game changer for me. So from that, then I became a coach and started becoming a trainer as well, upskilled in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. I actually started by delivering a specific mental health program, which is why I've got a lot of experience in mental health and mental fitness, which was very rewarding. But before long, I knew that I wasn't unlocking my full potential, and I wanted to create my own program. And that's when I launched 80 and decided that high performance was my thing. And that's where I am now.
Nice. And we met in a business group family. Anyway,
We did.
We're both still in at the moment, and I just really want to stress the importance, really, and you've already mentioned it, that you've done it a few times, and I'd still do it. I'm in all sorts of groups right now. The importance of getting help. So what do you think would have happened if you hadn't found that first coach? Where do you think you might be now?
I would definitely have 2 perfectionist children, because I copied and learned perfectionism from my mum. Not to blame her, but it's really useful to know that. I've unlearned it now. And I've got no doubt that it would have had my mindset would have had a really detrimental impact on my 2 girls, without a doubt. My marriage would not be in the state it's in now, which is a really thriving state. There's a lot of compromise. Back in the day, Julie, I was very binary, black and white, high level of control. It was my way or the highway. And I'm not sure our marriage would have lasted. But I kind of understand all this more now in hindsight. I actually thought I was quite a good wife at the time, but in hindsight, I wasn't.
No, you would have been, but you just know better ways now.
I certainly know better ways now.
Yeah. And actually, when you invest in yourself and your self-development and all that good stuff, actually you notice how relationships around you change. I can remember back in the day, I trained as a counsellor. I never did it as a full-time job. It was a time in my life when I wanted to become a do-gooder, but then realised that do-gooding didn't pay, so I had to go back to work. But there's a
Annoyingly
story around all that, as you can imagine. But so I spent the 4 years training and never did it, but I did do it as a volunteer one night a week until I couldn't cope with it anymore, which I now know was the menopause and everything else. But also the guilt and trying to juggle too many things and blah, 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 blah. But I remember having a client come in and she was really having relationship issues. And I remember sitting there thinking, well, if he's not here with me, how the hell am I supposed to fix you? But that was a really, because I was doing this when I was learning, when you have to go and get your hours and stuff like that. So this was a huge learning curve for me. She had the most transformational change going on when we worked together. And as a result of that, it did help her relationship. And that was, as I say, it's a learning curve that when you change yourself within, then you behave differently, right? So you would have been probably, because you were so wired, and I'm talking about myself here, I was always like that, really in my masculine energy, worked in a very male-dominated world, all so you come home like that.
What was it you used to do, Julie, back then? What were you doing in that world?
So the last 10 years, I was a project manager.
Okay.
So I've always worked in the finance industry. So always been on multiple projects, always, you know, running to one meeting to the next, completely different project, you know, and that's how your mind gets wired, isn't it? I'm not sure you're born with it. This is a conversation maybe for another day, but whether that's all learned behaviour, because just slightly backtracking, because everybody wants to have a label now, right? ADHD and all these different things, right? I would say that I'm probably a little bit, if I was tested, I'd probably be a little bit, but I think we're all a little bit, right?
I think I would too.
I think a lot of it is, I was working at 16 in London, right? I'm now, 55, right? So, I had a long time in that environment. How can that not be learned? Being in that, you know, getting used to being in that busy environment. And that's what I did all those years. And it probably hyped up as I got higher in my career, I suppose. But surely that's learned. Doesn't mean to say that I was born that way, does it? Or I've got some chemical imbalance or anything. It just means that's how it was. I don't know.
We adjust to our environment, don't we? And it is true that we are the average of the 5 people we spend most time with. So you would have evolved, and that would become your new autopilot, I'd suggest.
But the point being, I don't even know what the point is now. I don't know why I brought that up now. That's really funny, isn't it? See? But the point being that you once you work on yourself, there you go, got it back now. Once you start investing in yourself, you can see transformational changes around you. Because that's where I was going, wasn't it? You would have been really wired when you come home from work, say, and your husband, it wouldn't matter whatever he said, you'd probably go, you know, and then it kicks off in an argument, doesn't it? Because they can't do right for doing wrong. You put the cup in the wrong place, or what do you mean you didn't switch the washing machine on? You know, I'm talking about myself here, so I'm just assuming that yours was very similar. But once you start getting a grip and working on yourself, that's when you can start being present and start coming back to yourself and just being a lot more chilled.
Do you know, I think a big learning, I mean, the 80% is a great takeaway, why I called my company 80, but the other big learning is I've learned how to live at the lower end of my stressometer. And my life was living up at a 9 or 10 all the time, where you don't think straight, you believe in the narrative in your head, you can't make decisions, you're overwhelmed. You certainly can't be productive up there. You can't innovate, you can't think creatively, you can't tailor your approach. All the things you want to do when you're a parent and you're a leader, which I was at the time. So ironically, being a high achiever, I was underperforming as a result of those high levels of stress. And this is why it is so valuable what you're doing, Julie, is getting people to live down the bottom end of that stressometer. Something I'm passionate about as well, because that's where we work smarter. That's where life's better. That's where the high performance zone is. So I talk about it in the light of the high performance. The high performance zone is the lower end of the stressometer.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you know, 95% of our brain is our subconscious, which is our body too. So when we're stressed and overwhelmed, you'll think, you've got, if you imagine that just being your 5%, you've got all those looping thoughts going around, and then you wonder why you can't remember anything, don't you? Because you can't tap in to your subconscious mind, which is holding all the information. In the same way, like if you're going for an exam or a test or something, when you're like all overwhelmed, you might well know the answers, but you can't think of them.
It's like you can't access the inner wisdom, isn't it? That's what it's a bit like.
Exactly. It's like the doors are shut and you need to just relax so that the door can open, almost like you go into your library, innit? The door's locked to your library until you just calm yourself down. Do a few breathing. That's what I teach clients now. It's just like, just breathe in for 6, out for 6, all through your nose. Just calm yourself down. Even before you even step in the exam room or step in the car for your driving test or step in the room for your interview, change your state before you go in there.
Absolutely.
Relaxed. But that's when the power of your imagination can come in as well, Anna, isn't it? It's like, say like you're going for an interview, using your recruitment one is a really good example, right? A lot of people won't put themselves up for that promotion because they're too fearful. They won't go for that job because they're worried, or what if I don't like it? What if I make a big mistake? What if, right? But as soon as you step out of your comfort zone and actually start believing in yourself, you use your power of your imagination and you visualize yourself doing that role. You visualize yourself going to that interview and sitting at that desk and being smiling, confident, and you just keep visualizing that over and over again because your mind doesn't know the difference between what is real and what's imagined.
I know, isn't that amazing? I love that fact.
And that's why I love this stuff, because it's
I love it too.
Once you know it, you start doing it, you can just have transformational changes in your life. And it's a little bit like admitting that you're an alcoholic or something like that, isn't it? You can't make change until you've acknowledged something. So once we all acknowledge that actually we have got some issues that we need to deal with.
Yeah.
And we need to invest in ourselves to do that. And I know financially it's not always viable for everybody, I get that. But for those that can do it, then you really ought to, because and I'll tell you, I like to use the analogy as well, like we were saying about beliefs. Like, you're living your life on out-of-date beliefs, right? So anyone who's got one of these, whether it's an Android or an iPhone, right? Who's using the very first version of an iPhone that came out? No one, because you wouldn't be able to use it because you would be cut off by now anyway, wouldn't you, by iPhone, because you can't upgrade it or anything, right? So the same with your desktop and software. As soon as it gets a little bit out of date, you go and upgrade it. Mm-hmm. So why would you not upgrade your old beliefs? Why would you be making a decision in your business or in the professional world? You're welcome, you can have that. So you think all the people in the business world or in the corporate world, right, are making decisions based on a belief that they created when they was 5 years of age.
Yeah, I totally agree. Love the upgrade analogy.
It's true though, isn't it?
Yeah. And if I'm allowed to share, if I'm allowed to swear even, I'm going to say one swear word. It's not a really bad one. Can I say it?
Yeah.
Am I allowed?
It's like saying, can I tell you a secret, but don't tell anyone. I don't know what you're going to say.
I just want to tell you, I want to share with you the words I use to describe the comfort zone, because I talk a lot about growth mindset and comfort zones, and it relates to what you've just said. I refer, even to businesses, as the comfort zone as being the warm shit. And when people maintain those old beliefs, which are really unhelpful sometimes because they're driving probably very unhelpful thoughts, fearful, anxious, whatever, and then the unhelpful results. But it's easier to stay in the warm shit, isn't it, Julie? We all know that. It's easier because the comfort zone, it's called the warm shit because it's warm and familiar, but it's shit because it's unhelpful. It's self-limiting. You're not being unstoppable when you're in the warm shit, but it's easier to stay in it. And this is the benefit of investing in a coach. They can help you and upskill your mindset to be able to lean out of your comfort zone and create and gather evidence to create these new beliefs that are going to serve you better in life to get better results. So I actually think, for me, investing in a coach has transformed my life. It's been life-changing and has led to me having a happier life, earning more money, being just more fulfilled in life in general, living the life I want. We only live once. YOLO.
Mm.
YOLO, baby. So why are we keeping
Yeah.
ourselves stuck?
Yeah. And sometimes I think to myself, oh, if only I'd started this journey years ago. But a few things I'd say about that. One, there's no point living in regret, right? Because you can't change
No,
it.
wasted
And then
energy. Yeah.
also, I think it's about, you do things. I believe now that you're kind of in the place where you need to be at that time. So you have to go through certain trauma,
Journey.
certain horrible things to get to where you are and to get you to that point when now is when I need to do something. Because if we all just lived, oh, happy, happy, fairy, 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 then you would be in that comfort zone the whole time, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. We're all on a journey, aren't we? And it is, I mean, one of my favourite phrases is post-traumatic growth rather than post-traumatic stress. Post-traumatic growth. Sometimes curveballs, well, very often actually, unfortunately for all of us, we get curveballs that are unexpected and we're shoved out of our comfort zone in a terrible way, and we didn't choose to be out of it. So it's so much more helpful, isn't it, to grow from and learn from that challenging situation or adversity and think, what can I take from this to help myself move forward powerfully? Because I can't take it away. It's an uncontrollable. The past, I can't change the past. I can't change that event, but how can I utilize it to gather momentum for myself?
Yeah. And that's the thing, it's good to look back, but it depends on how you're looking back. It's good to look back at your life and go, bloody hell, I've done so amazing. Like, we can look back on when we started our business and look how far we've come. I don't ever look back and go, oh, if only I'd done that. I don't look back. You mustn't look back in that way, but it's about acknowledging your success looking back. And then obviously you're looking forward, isn't it?
Yeah, I love the question, how far have I already come? Because the old me, the old perfectionist Anna, because perfectionism was the thing, the 110% striving for that all the time and having to be at the best at everything. The old me was caught in what I call the happiness trap, like continually chasing, I'll be good enough when, and I'll be happy when I've run the marathon. I'll be good enough and happy when I've got a bigger house. Chase, chase, chase. Never did I think, how far have I already come? Like, wow, what I've achieved so far, what progress I've made. I just ignored all the progress. And that's the thing with a fixed mindset. And unfortunately, most people do have a fixed mindset. It plays into the 90% we've been talking about of your thoughts being the same as yesterday. It's an effort to lean into growth mindset. It requires a real think bigger attitude. And to have that, you need perspective, which, going back to coaching, I think it's about helping people really deepen their foundations. Julie, do you agree?
I do.
Building their self-esteem.
Yeah, and it's about really getting to the root cause of what's holding you back.
Stabilizing them almost, yeah.
Yeah, but unfortunately, people have got to want to do it. We can only facilitate, help and guide, but we can't do it for them. And sometimes people will come to you going, yeah, it's what I want, and then they don't want to do the work because guess what? It gets a little bit uncomfortable because they've had to step out of the shit, using your analogy of your warm shit. They've had to step out of it, and it's scary, and your mind is naturally drawn to keeping you safe. So it will naturally bring you back in because, oh no, that's not safe out there. We need to bring it back in, and it's about really digging deep and changing habits, because a lot of it's about habits, right? You do things with habit. The negative self-talk is a habit. Getting up and smoking or drinking or not sleeping or being stressed, they're all habits. And they're pretty much habits, like even stress, right? The chances are, if you're a right stress head, if you go back to your childhood, you'll probably find that maybe one or both of your parents were like that. Or maybe they didn't give you the attention that you needed, or everything was always fast paced, or we never had any money, and you can't have, all these fear money mindset things are all learned behaviour.
Yeah.
What happens is when these events happen, your body remembers it and it puts in this little filing cabinet. And the next time that there's an event that it thinks, well, this is a bit similar to something I had before, I'll go in that little filing cabinet, oh, last time we did this, we made you feel really sick and we gave you a really bad headache and made you all nervous. Let's do that again because that really worked. That stopped you from doing it. And that's what anxiety in that is.
Yeah.
It's stored memory in your filing cabinet. So as soon as your brain thinks that you're in danger, because remember, its only job is to keep you safe, it will go into those filing cabinets and find a time where you was in like a fight-flight mode, and maybe you had heart palpitations and you felt sick. All that one to do, and I'll bring that one out.
I know
that worked really well. I'm going to bring that out again with bells on, and it keeps on bringing.
Yeah. Oh God, with a cherry on top.
Yeah.
And I think, acknowledging the need for clients to lean and gradually step out of their comfort zone obviously is really important. And for that reason, they really need to choose the right coach for them. The rapport is so important, isn't it?
It is. It is. And I guess you're probably up against it a little bit going out into the corporate world, because a lot of people are having you forced on them, aren't they? Like when someone
paying for it themselves.
Yeah. So look, when someone wants to work with you and they come themselves, that's them making that decision. But when you're in a working environment, I can remember it. But, we've got some consultants coming in. Oh God, here we go again. But you'll have a lot of negativity, wouldn't you, in that group? Have you experienced that?
I think it is much harder, training a team in a business who haven't paid for it themselves. And some of them are thinking, I don't need it. I'm already pretty resilient. Definitely challenging. But I would like to say that 80s approach, without getting too cheesy here, like for me, it's about high energy, massive impact, making it fun and simple and delivering stuff that is absolutely going to make a difference to them. So I find that groups love that energy. The brand is really quite edgy and forward thinking. It's quite cool. I think long gone are the days of like some middle-aged bloke with grey hair going in with long-winded explanations of things, long words, loads of theory. People are just going to switch off. So we say at 80, it's all about delivering the extraordinary. So extraordinary impact, extraordinary delivery, and extraordinary results. And I'm really pride myself on that. So I get around that actually, but it is a challenge.
And it's about winning them over, I suppose, like you say, isn't it? So
the proof is in the pudding. They want to say, oh my God, that did work, or that concept has landed and it's led to this. So I'm really very forthcoming when it comes to conversion to commercial results. Like I don't want to go in there and deliver fluff. I want to motivate them, but I want it to translate into a commercial result so they can see that it's changed their lives or got them a better result in some way. So I really hold myself accountable to that and hold them accountable as well, which I think is important.
So would you say that's your USP then for your business?
I think a major USP is this link between mental fitness and high performance. I think you either get a resilience coach going in or mental first aid, or you might get a leadership coach or a high performance coach going in. For me, it's about bridging the gap between the two, because you just can't have one without the other. You can't have high performance without the mental fitness. So that's definitely the USP in terms of the offering. But for me personally, it's definitely the energy, I'd say. The energy and impact.
And I can vouch that Anna is probably the most enthusiastic person I know right now.
Well, you're pretty enthusiastic yourself, Julie. But I do like energy, and groups need that, don't they?
They do. And actually doing my group program now, I mean, obviously we've all done, like, I've run meetings and all that in my corporate life and done presentations and stuff, even doing this, but actually holding a group is actually quite challenging, isn't it? Because it's looking at all the different dynamics and trying to work out who's the ringleader, who's the one that's going to cause the trouble, and getting, because that's the thing, isn't it, in a group.
Oh, that's all the different social styles and personalities. You have to be very mindful of that, of how you can relate to everyone in that audience, not just 25%.
It's quite challenging, isn't it? But anyway, my darling, we're coming up to the end now. I mean, I know we could talk for hours. But
that flew by, didn't it?
No. When people say at the beginning, how long is it going to be? And I go, I don't know. And they go, oh God, I don't think we'll be able to talk for that long. Yeah, you will.
Easy.
But so just, I know you've been talking about your business just at the end, but is there any other thing you want to just summarise around anything that you want to do a shout out for?
Oh, just to say, if anyone's listening and they work in a company or they know someone who works in a business that wants to motivate their team, upskill them, get them thinking bigger, disrupt the norm to achieve extraordinary results, get in touch, because I deliver motivational talks as well as workshops, programs and coaching. It's been a pleasure to be on here, Julie. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome, Diane. It's been a pleasure having you. So for me, I do one-to-ones and groups, and I've got my pilot group program going on at the moment, and I'm looking for 3 or 4 people actually to come into it in my pilot. And the requirement there will be you get it coming in at a real rock bottom price, but the expectation will be that I will need you to be my guinea pigs through it. I want you to be doing my testimonials. I want, to be part of this group is just going to be amazing, because you are going to be the pioneers in this. And I'm going to be relying on you to make sure that I'm going to get the result that my clients need. We're only in the beginning part of it at the moment, but so far it's been amazing, actually, and seeing some of the people in the group already having transformation. It's like,
oh, that's fantastic.
Because I know I've done it on a one-to-one. I can do that all day long, but when you start to change the dynamic into a group, it's a little bit different, because I'm still doing hypnosis in it.
Oh,
so
wow.
that we still get to the root cause, but in a slightly different way to how I do it on a one-to-one. But yeah, it's really, really exciting. I'm loving it at the moment. And we just want to
make a great opportunity for people.
Yeah. Amazing. So if anyone's interested in either of what we're doing, just contact us. And this video will go up on my YouTube channel, Millieside Therapy and Coaching. So go over there, watch this again, and watch all the others that are on there as well, plus my client videos and client interviews as well. So thank you so much for joining us today. And anyone watching this on the replay, if you've got any questions, just put them in the social media, wherever you're watching it from, and we'll do our best to get back to you. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another amazing, unstoppable guest. Thanks for watching.
Bye.